Go.
Madam President and governing board members, I'd like to address the board's recent decisions to dissolve the WESD partnership with Arizona Christian University because of the university's values. Allow me to remind the board that all practicum students and student teachers are supervised directly by WESD teachers. Members of the board have said that they strive to bring, quote, an analytical, data-driven approach to decision-making. However, the board was acting on a bunch of what-ifs when voting on this matter. Since this board was asking for more data, I just wanted to share some of my own. 17 years in this district. Out of the dozens of practicum students I have had throughout my WESD teaching career, 16 of them have been from ACU. All 16 have taught lessons to my students under the direct supervision of myself or other mentor teachers at my school. All 16 have had glowing reviews in regards to their instruction, strategies, and connections made with all students. Never at any time did our students feel unsafe or attacked, ever. This year, Roadrunner has hosted 12 ACU practicum students. So far, 2 of which want to come back and do their teaching, their student teaching at Roadrunner. Many in education agree that practicum leads to student teaching and can lead to a wonderful hire. Out of around a dozen student teachers throughout the years, all but one of mine were hired by the WESD. By building relationships, we have the incredible opportunity to build up and hire qualified teachers. There have been 0 complaints against ACU students in the entire history of our partnership. I was asked 0 questions about my experience with my ACU students by this board while you were doing your own research on this partnership. Other ACU mentors have said the same. I'm so disappointed. I just urge you to rethink this, and I encourage you to get to know these wonderful, passionate, loving ACU students and their wonderful staff as I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Amy McFarlane. Amy McFarlane. Thank you. She would like to address. Oh. She would like to address the board regarding the ACU rejection. She is from the Shaw Butte attendance area.
We're going to restart your time. The microphone was off. Hold on, Miss Tucker. We apologize, Ms. McFarland. Can we give you a test before we start your timer?
Thank you. I'm Amy McFarlane, a teacher at Shaw Butte, part of the Washington Elementary School District number 6. I define myself as an educator, Guatemalan, a woman, citizen of the nations, Afro-descendant, and also a Christian, who ensures respect, inclusion, and freedom of rights of all human beings, regardless of their race, social position, gender, or beliefs. I must say, for those whose voices have been silenced for fear of threats, and for those who have lost their lives as a consequence of persecution of different kinds of political agendas around the world, that instead of promoting good things like justice or inclusion, they promote the opposite without noticing it. Today, I'm referring to the WESD board of members who committed an injustice against Arizona Christian University student teachers and their values. The board members didn't think about the repercussions of the discriminatory actions against those who are seeking for a common goal, providing an exemplary education based on respect and non-discrimination. Is this the message that the 5 of you members and your followers are intending to actually communicate? I dare say no, but intentionally you're doing it, or not probably. This is the message that you are and your followers sending to all of our community, Christian community. Whether you are a Christian worker, parent, or a student, the Washington Elementary School District does not have a place for you. 5 people who are in a position of power are telling ACU student teachers directly and indirectly telling all of us Christian parents, students, staff members, and educators, you do not belong here. Aren't we also humans? Aren't our Christian students humans with feelings too? Many people, students, raised their voices through the years and fought for their beliefs, but some pretend to silence exemplary teachers in our district. Your decision board members keep damaging our psychologically and emotionally environment. And this only widens the
Our next speaker is Erica Smith. She is from the Mountain Sky Junior High area, and she would like to address the board regarding the ACU contract.
Good evening. My name is Erica Smith, and this is my 22nd year with the WESD in the same position. I'm here to address the board regarding the contract between WESD and Arizona Christian University. I'm here to speak for my fellow people of faith and my relationships in the district. Your decision to criticize the traditional values of this university is outside of your scope of practice. In fact, religion is a protected entity of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and acting against this by definition is unlawful. Not only is it discrimination of all faiths, but it creates division among people, and as leaders, your conduct is uncalled for. For 11 years, we've had a positive relationship with ACU and hired some phenomenal teachers because of this partnership. Many of them I work with at Mountain Sky. But because they love their creator and hold values that aren't yours, they're unworthy of the same arrangement that we have with other universities. Terminating the contract has created disunity and stirs up conversations that portray you in a negative light. Is that what you wanted? As Christians or people of faith, we honestly don't have time during the school day to talk to children about what we believe. We're there to provide them an education, to live by example of our own faith, and that doesn't mean that we're preaching. I want you to know that.
Your time has expired.
The next speaker to come up to the microphone is Aaron, and please forgive me, Siricola. Thank you. And he would like to address the board regarding the ACU contract, and he is in Arizona and U.S. citizen.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening. Hello, 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 hello. Is it on? Is it on? Hello, hello. I'm on. I'm on. Am I on? Hello? Hello? There we go. Good evening, WESD board members, teachers, parents. It's an honor to be with everyone here this evening. My name is Aaron Saracola. I'm from Peoria. This recent contract dismissal of student teachers affiliated with ACU based on assumption is totally biased, it's wrong, and completely discriminatory towards Christians in general. All teachers, regardless of what universities they study at, must sign and abide by the district's non-discrimination policies. Have you signed that form as well, Tamila, or are you above discrimination? There has been no evidence of ACU students influencing kids based on their own Christian beliefs, but yet you have influenced the board's decision to deny jobs for student teachers who come from this particular Christian university based on your own personal beliefs or dislikes. Let's not forget, Nikki, that you stated that it's not just about being a Christian, but it's about how does one teacher just shut off an essential part of their being while teaching these kids? Well, I would ask the same question to you board members who made this biased and discriminatory decision, who canceled jobs of these students. You make accusations while you did the very same thing that you have concerns with. What is next, folks? How about signs on every school district or businesses that Christians are not allowed? By denying these ACU student teachers contracts, you are setting a precedent through the state of Arizona that discrimination towards Christians is allowed, while your accusations, falsities, and beliefs get a pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Ben, and forgive me, it's, I think, Larrbee. And he would like to, he has a general comment, and he is representing Christians.
Just give her just a moment. Because we have to turn it on and off, it takes a little bit of a delay, so please forgive us. Excuse me.
Yes. Members of the board, I stand before you as an Arizonan, a member of Turning Point USA, and a Bible-believing Christian. Last week, people of faith like me were described as a danger to students and that our beliefs make them feel unsafe. On the contrary, our faith is grounded in verses like Micah 6:8, which reads, "What does the Lord require of you but to do justice on their behalf, to love with kindness and walk humbly before your God?" We are commanded to love and seek justice on behalf of all students, no matter who they are. But do not get me wrong. I do believe students are suffering in this district. I do believe students are unsafe in this district. Let's see the abuse that they suffered in the last 3 years because of lockdowns, mask mandates, and insane COVID policies in which they have become unsafe. Seniors are graduating with the lowest ACT scores in 3 decades. Students that do make it to college face a mountain of debt and no prospects. Shutting students indoors has caused childhood obesity to double and rapidly shorten the lives of our young children. Most alarmingly, half of students reported that poor mental health. A fifth have considered suicide in the past few years, and this is compounded by the fact that half of your students are coming from homes with no father in them. As educators and board members and parents, you know better than most how much our students are suffering. The Christian educators that came into this district knew the challenges they would face, but accepted the job anyway because of the deep and passionate love they have for your students. All that I would ask you is do not deprive them of this, and do not deprive students of the only lifeline they have. They may be the only ally they have in their corner. If you remove these educators because of their faith, not only are you flagrantly defying the First Amendment, you are further condemning students to the injustices they have suffered in the past 3 years. Students need a lifeline. Don't cut.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Jeff Cadwell. He would like to address the board regarding the withdrawal from the ACU contract.
Test. Yes. Jeff Caldwell. So the First Amendment prevents a government body from implementing a regulation because of religion. And there was no evidence provided that was directly a result of discrimination from the teachers from ACU. Now, this isn't just about Tamila. This is the entire board. The entire board voted unanimously to withdraw this contract. This is a violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution. ACU just submitted what I think is going to be a multi-million-dollar case against this board. And it's going to cost taxpayers millions of dollars. Instead of money going into the classroom, it's going to go into the legal system. And I just want to bring it up that it was unconstitutional what you guys did, and it is unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Patricia Pellet, P-E-L-L-E-T-T. She would like to address the board. She's from SUSD, and she would like to address the board regarding discrimination. 1 second. Are you ready? Okay, go ahead. Yep,
The handheld.
the handheld.
Oh,
Let
here.
me start over because
Okay,
you lost a
thank
couple
you.
seconds there. Ready?
Yes.
Go.
First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. This will not be me. I have stood up my whole life against discrimination, against everyone. And I will not tolerate it now. And if people don't start standing up across America against this discrimination against Christians, the persecution will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Heather Vasquez. She is representing the Washington Principals Association, and she would like to address the board regarding equity and staffing. The handheld? The handheld. Mhm.
Okay.
Right, my name is Heather Vasquez. I'm representing the. Please hold. While I appreciate the sentiment, one of the rules was to not obstruct the vision of other participants or our recording, which is live streamed in alignment with open meeting law. So I am going to have to ask you to remain seated. Unfortunately, I cannot allow that for any particular speaker.
All right. My name is Heather Vasquez. I'm representing the Washington Principals Association. Okay. We come here tonight on behalf of the Washington principals and assistant principals. We have a letter outlining our concerns regarding the last few board meetings. We were disappointed in what we are hearing and seeing. We love this district. We choose to work here. We choose to stay here. We choose to protect our students and our staff from discrimination. We can and should be able to disagree respectfully, and no one should face threats of personal attacks due to our personal beliefs. As principals, We want to address the hateful comments and attacks on any of our governing board members. The health and safety of our organization must be grounded in our core principles of respect, kindness, professionalism, and understanding of differing beliefs and opinions. While we can and should be able to disagree respectfully, no one should be subjected to personal attacks or threats. We expect that our board members are treated with the same respect and dignity that we commit to treating all students, staff, and families like in our school district. We want our current and prospective teachers, staff, parents, and students and public to know that we stand besides them. Regardless of your race, color, national origin, sex, religion, we are principals and we are here to support you. Teachers and staff, we believe in you. We understand that while your personal beliefs form the work ethic and define who you are, you know how to respect people of all backgrounds and cultures. We see it every day. If you are working for us or plan to work for us, you will experience acceptance and inclusions on our campuses. We want teachers and staff to know who love and understand our kids, that we hold them.
Thank you. Next
The
speaker,
next
please.
speaker is Kendra Stanley. She would like to address the board regarding the ACU contract, and she is representing the Moon Valley Lookout Mountain Sky area.
No problem. Mr. Kern, our safety and mentoring team are monitoring the room. It is not your responsibility. Thank you. Ms. Tucker, is our mic working? Test. Oh, there it is. Test. Absolutely. Okay, let's start the timer over, please.
Hi, I would like to start out by saying thank you, Valenzuela, very much for having successfully just put a target on the backs of all of the little Christian children at these schools. I believe that if any one of you school board members were intellectually honest, especially you, President Whaley, you would admit that putting all religion and faith aside, that having Christian teachers at these schools would not be a danger to the kids. If you truly believe that, then where do you draw the line? You now have to check into, I hate to say it, but the precious Muslim teachers and the Jewish teachers. You want to know why? Because they also share the same exact precept that Christians do about homosexual marriage. I will tell you who the real threat to our children is. Overall, it's the entire board here that voted against this contract last week, but especially you, Valenzuela, that led this charge. Have any of you seen, these are not my words, but her own profession of her value system on her own personal profile page, professing to be witchy AF. And I won't say it because that's against the rules.
I'm going to ask you to limit your comments to your positions and not towards anybody's individual
Sure.
Facebook pages or what have you.
Sure. Okay, you can go look at that for yourself. That to me, that value system is a real true danger to our kids. Or even because a couple of you on the board, this is how it relates. You expressed being afraid, not just the.
Your 2 minutes is up. I'm going to ask you to stop speaking out of turn. I do have to remind the community that personal attacks that get personal about individuals outside of the boardroom or their board role are not permissible, but unfortunately, as public officials, we are able to be addressed and concerns are able to be addressed to us. And Ms. Valenzuela or any other board members who feel that they had been personally singled out will have an opportunity to address those comments at the end of the call to the public. Thank you.
The next person is, excuse me, Jeff Cordes, C-O-R-D-E, I think it's an S or Z, I'm sorry. He would like to address the board regarding the ACU contract, and he is representing Washington School District.
Testing.
Hand mic.
Testing. Okay, I'm still digesting a little bit the fact of a multi-million lawsuit that the board is costing us taxpayers. It's unconscionable. I mean, we talk about hurting the children. That hurts. That hurts. Do we not? I'm not even going to go into the funding issues, but I do want to say that the Christian hate and fear, prejudice displayed by this board is unpatriotic and also unconscionable. A unanimous decision to cancel ACU and their contract based solely on religious beliefs and statements of faith. This self-inflicted illegal circus is going to pass. This will be history soon, but I'll tell you, the anti-Christian attitudes and biases on this board is going to persist. And I watched the meeting on YouTube. Only one or two board members actually asked multiple relevant questions about the contract. It was stated, well, we don't know if we ever hire ACU students. Well, it's a mystery. Well, they think maybe they're all from California and they just leave. Please, do some homework. Okay, we'll accept an answer now. As you railroad the decision that you made about the contract, and this circus will pass, but my prayer for the kids in this school and this board is that this board will either step up or step down.
Thank you. Next comment.
The next person is Hector Jaramillo. Has a general comment and a citizen. Test it for me, please.
Hello?
Ready?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Hector Jaramillo. I'm a school board member from Glendale, and I'm speaking in my personal capacity as a former student of WESD. I stand in firm solidarity with Amelia Valenzuela and the WESD board. Cutting ties with ACU had nothing to do with religion. It had everything to do with an institution that views the LGBTQ plus community as bestiality and incest. It's on their website, and they group it within the same parentheses.
Ms. Tucker, please pause the timer. Hissing is not permissible. Continue.
So, if you want your religion to be associated with that view of gay people, then continue talking, continue speaking up. All right, well, concerned with the potential harm it could bring to our students, the WSD unanimously cut ties with this specific institution and not religion. So why the attacks on Tamilian on the national level when this was a unanimous decision? It's because she's a proud, unapologetic, queer Afro-Latina, and she simply exists. That's it. You're allowed to criticize decisions that any board makes, but when you attack people's appearance, their family, their son, while publishing their personal info online and sending death threats, that is when you cross the line. That's when you're no longer representing a faith of Christ. You're allowed to be upset over the decision, but understand why it was made. We're here to serve all children, especially those that are constantly attacked and bullied into depression and suicide. Again, if you want your version of Christianity to be associated with ACU's hateful view of our community, continue talking, continue showing the community how you stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Catherine Lanting. She is wanting to address the board regarding the ACU student-teacher contract, and she says she lives in the district's boundaries.
Thank you. Test, test. Okay. Yep, thank you. First of all, as a Christian, I condemn personal attacks against anybody. My name is Catherine Lanting. I've lived in the district for almost 5 years. I hold degrees in education and English from Northern Arizona University. Currently, I homeschool. You may think that as a homeschooling family, I don't have any skin in this game, but I am part of this community. I'd like to congratulate you on making national news, joining a long line of school districts across the country that ostracize those who hold Christian values. In your recent decision to cancel your contract with ACU, you have broken state and federal law, and also your own district's policies. It says on your page, you do not discriminate in your hiring practices, except now you do, officially. You expressed concern that hiring teachers directly from a Christian faith would make a classroom unsafe. What the board members have decided under the guise of neutrality and secularism is that you don't want biblical Christianity in the classroom. But neutrality is a myth. No person in this room holds a neutral view on any issue today. All of us live our lives influenced by our beliefs. You worry about the safety of LGBTQ students and staff, but this decision communicates that Christian students and staff are not welcome or safe. Christianity is acceptable to you insofar as it aligns with your lack of Christianity. And that's discriminatory. The First Amendment did not intend to protect people from the influence of personal religion in public spaces. It intended to keep the government from regulating religious belief and practice. But in your decision to keep ACU students and graduates out of your school, you have done exactly what the First Amendment sought to prevent. It's illegal, and worse, it's immoral. You will be accountable to God, whether you acknowledge him or not. And you all need to repent of your sins and believe the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yes, I said it. The unalienable right of the freedom of religion is not granted to us by the government which you represent. It is granted to us by God. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Lindsay Love. She is addressing the board regarding protecting LGBTQ kids, and she is, forgive me, I can't. Thank you. Can you state where you're representing? Wait, I want to,
Please,
mic.
yeah, please make sure that the mic is on and that
And
this
the
timer
timer.
is started.
Test it for me, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Did you want me to speak to who I'm representing?
We already have,
Yeah.
okay, yes, please state your name and who you're representing.
Lindsay Love and my practice Therapy Love PLLC, and I'm also a former board member with the Chandler Unified School District, but I am not representing them. Am I good? My timer? Okay, thank you. Thank you, members of the board. I think that it is clear that this is not an issue of discrimination against Christians, given the fact that we look at the legislature and there were 11 bills targeting LGBTQ students and families, and how many bills right now are targeting Christians. This is the wrong issue of discrimination. Nobody is attacking Christians. I grew up Southern Baptist. We have faith leaders out there who are in support of this board, because the important thing is who is under attack right now, which is our LGBTQ students. And that is what this board and Mrs. Valenzuela brought forward. And I think it's interesting that a bunch of so-called Christians have used their platforms to target Miss Valenzuela for being neurodivergent, which our district has many neurodivergent children in this state, right? They become doctors, they become lawyers, they sit on boards, and you will not tell her that she is not capable of being on this board because you don't know how to read the definition of neurodivergent, and I am a therapist, check me on it. And I think that you have chosen to target Miss Valenzuela because she represents the groups that are often demonized when we talk about desegregation, and it fits this narrative for voucher expansion. You want to make her into the political boogeyman so that you can be across the street raising funds for a Senate race for a Brian Morris who I've never even heard about. This is the biggest grift that I have ever seen. And I want to thank this board for standing up for what is right. And the young lady, thank you.
2 minutes. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Ana Hernandez. She has a public comment, and she is a state senator.
Please hold and make sure your mic works, Senator.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you. Do I need to say
Go ahead.
anything? Good.
I said everything.
Okay. Thank you. I'm here to state that we are proud to stand with the school board that is standing up for students, especially as we see over a dozen legislative bills that are targeting our LGBTQ youth. This decision helps assure students and families who are being attacked that the classroom will be a place they will be protected and valued. We are proud to stand with this board and grateful for their courage to make decisions that support all students' wellness. If a parent wants their child to have an education with the foundation in faith, schools exist for that. There's religious schools that you literally can take your kids to, and you can exercise your parent choice. There are also other religious institutions that don't lead with hateful and divisive values. School board members play a critical role in defining and enforcing policies that help to create safer, more affirming school environments, especially as we see local and national attacks on LGBTQ kids spearheaded by people, including far-right sitting legislators, that when they don't agree with the decisions a duly elected governing board makes, they're willing to attempt to overthrow our government and fail, just like they fail our public education system. Thank you.
I am going to ask that we do not interrupt the speakers while they are speaking with applause or any other things. Let's continue on with the next speaker.
The next speaker is Janine. I think it's Jennin Hernandez. Is it Jenn? Jenny. Thank you. And she has a public comment, and she is representing the community.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, thank you. Does my time start now, or can I see that? Oh, can you start it? I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Yeah, she hasn't said anything yet, so we'll go ahead and start it.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Hernandez, and I am here as a queer youth. As school board members, we play a critical role in defining and enforcing policies that help create safer, more affirming school environments, especially as we see local and national attacks on LGBTQ plus students and kids. The vote to end the contract with ACU is not an attack on Christianity. It is support for all students, especially LGBTQ plus students. This decision helps assure students and families who are being attacked can feel assured that the classroom will be a place they will be protected and valued. The fact that Arizona Christian University makes their students sign a morality clause, which essentially states that marriage should be between a man and a woman, is saying our children, literal children, are sinners. And we all know what the church says about sinners. You are saying our children will go to hell because they are different. That is not very Christian of y'all. And I'll be damned if my daughter's school ever said that about her, ever said that about their students, because I'd be there every single day fighting for her and our children as I am here. The fact that they are attacking and threatening another human, a school board member, a proud queer woman, is not very Christian of y'all. I hope other school board members stand up for their fellow member and recognize that people that are threatening the lives of other humans are not people who love God. These are haters. These are people who hate humanity, who have nothing in their heart but despise. That is not true Christianity. We have fought far too long to make sure that this doesn't continue to be the reality for our LGBTQ plus children. We are proud, I am proud, to stand with a school board that is standing up for students, especially as we oversee dozen legislative bills that are targeting LGBTQ youth daily.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is it Virginia? I can't, it's V, I believe, I-R-I-A.
Ms. Tucker, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let them reintroduce themselves with their names.
Thank you.
Once we know kind of who we're going to identify, and after they've introduced themselves with their name. And do you need something else that you can't? Okay. No, I understand. I think everyone was writing while standing. What we're going to do is go ahead, just reintroduce yourself with your name, and then we'll start the timer.
Hi, good evening. My name is Viridiana Hernandez, and I am with AC Poder, a local organization in West Phoenix and South Phoenix.
Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I am here today to talk about the ACU contract, right? Who there has been attacks around what this contract was. Deeming that this was an attack on Christianity, an attack on Christians, was absolutely not true. This is a support for all students, especially as there are actual literal attacks right now on LGBTQ youth that are happening at the state legislature every single day. Most of them, the majority of them, being pushed and being promoted by the so many so-called Christians that are infringing in students and young people's safety, health, and rights. That is what is actually happening right now. And as Senator Hernandez shared, right, there are no bills right now at the state legislature against Christians. That is not an attack that's happening. And so I'm here today to say thank you for voting and doing this unanimous vote. And I'm also here to also claim and just point light to the hateful attacks we've seen on board member Tamilia Valenzuela, that we have seen for weeks now by all of these so-called Christians that we have heard. Attacks that have pushed and threatened her safety, that have threatened with drive-bys, that have threatened with weapons, that have said watch your back, right? Threats that have called, have made fatphobic, homophobic, and ableist comments. So don't tell us that these values are not going to impact the safety when they're literally impacting people's lives right now. We're watching it. We're watching it outside. We're watching it happen right now. I went to Grand Canyon University, and I can attest and confirm that those values do impact the teaching. They absolutely do. I was there and I went to become a teacher. I went to do my practicum. I assure you that those biases, those
Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Please state your name and who you're representing.
And the handheld mic.
Oh, hello. All right, good evening. My name is Andrea Barrera, and I'm representing the Arizona Community for Public Education. And I want to keep this short and sweet. I want to come here to thank the Washington Elementary School District School Board for upholding the separation between church and state. I and many others in this room, in this city, and across the state and across the nation are so grateful that you're taking a stand and dissolving this partnership with ACU. We believe that public institutions that serve the greater good of the community, such as the Washington Elementary School District, have no business in partnering with private institutions that espouse hateful values, such as those on ACU's website. You all on this board recognize that, and you took action. You upheld the First Amendment, did your due diligence to separate church and state, and in my opinion, are way more American than those who seek to destroy you. So thank you so much for all that you've done. You're a courageous bunch, and I'm here to support you and let you know that everything you're doing to support the joy and the belonging of all of our students is seen and it's validated. We have some people who are showing their students that hate is okay, and we're going to overshadow that with the love that we have for each other. So thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
And I make an announcement about a car. Someone who has a white Chevy Equinox, we need you to move your vehicle. A white Chevy Equinox, please move your vehicle. The next speaker, please. Please state your name, your topic, and who you're representing.
Okay. Hi, again. My name is Chris Gelker. I'm really just representing myself. 40 years ago, I lived in this district some 40 years ago. My son was a student here.
Oh, I apologize. I was writing down the name, so let's go ahead and start that.
Okay, my name is Chris Gelker, and I'm really just representing myself. Some 40 years ago, I lived in this district. My son was a student here. He is gay. He was struggling at that time. I don't know that he really acknowledged it to himself or to us till he got into high school, but he was struggling in middle school. And he ended up attempting suicide. And, you know, things weren't perfect in this district 40 years ago. It wasn't really accepting and nurturing. They were probably better than some places, but they weren't that good. And so when I heard about this, I just thought, I am so grateful to Ms. Valenzuela and you other board members for having the courage to try to make things better for the new generations of people like my son. I just had to come here and say, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker, please state your name, the topic, and who you're representing or the community you're from.
Hi, my name's Hayden Nguyen. I'm a student at Gilbert Public Schools, and I represent Support Equality Arizona Schools. As somebody who's a student, I think I speak on behalf of all teachers, all students, when I say that I support the board and I thank the board for what they did in discontinuing their partnership with ACU last board meeting. ACU is a hateful organization, to be frank, an organization that makes people sign a pledge against gay marriage, against LGBTQ people, against transgenderism. And right now I go to school every day and in a mental health crisis, in a crisis where 1 in 5 transgender and non-binary students attempt suicide just last year. Where just last year, over 90% of LGBTQ students heard a slur, received discrimination, experienced discrimination in our schools. As a school board, you have a special responsibility to protect your kids. You know this. And that's why I really thank you, and that's why I'm here to thank you today for protecting your kids, by recognizing this mental health crisis, by recognizing the discrimination that is caused by organizations like ACU, by the people standing across the road there yelling hateful things to me, yelling hateful things to my friends, yelling at us and telling us that we are hate, that we were paid to be here. Every day, I hear about sexual assault. I hear about people attempting suicide. I hear about people having suicidal thoughts. It's experienced heavily within our LGBTQ youth. I really want to thank you guys for ending your partnership with ACU, and I really want to thank Valenzuela Board Member Valenzuela for standing up to these threats of violence that were brought upon you, brought upon the LGBTQ community, brought against drag shows, brought on our state legislator. One of my colleagues mentioned earlier that there is no attacks in legislation right now in our state legislature. They're acting on false claims.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Speaker, please. Yes.
There's a point of clarification. Everyone, we talked about this at the beginning of the meeting, that those folks that were drawn from the buckets were notified. Some of them are inside, some of them are outside. The names were called and verified outside, and they are being brought in small groups to finish the public participation. 32 names in all were polled. We are going to allow for the 32 people to speak. It is going to exceed our 1 hour limit, but that was the understanding, and I want to be respectful of those that participated and were notified that they would be able to speak. Thank you. Please make sure we do not turn off the mics. If you come to the podium to... Okay. Just as a double check, please make sure that you leave the mic on when you exit. There are additional issues to be sure, but we are going to try to eliminate as many as we can. Ms. Hernandez, if you are available to bring alternative batteries.
Check, check. I'm Reverend Sarah Oglesby Dunnigan. I'm with Unitarian Universalist Justice, Arizona. So, members of the board and staff and community members. As I just said, I'm Reverend Sarah Oglesby Dunnigan, and I am the Senior Minister for Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Chandler, Arizona. Unitarian Universalists are not bound by creeds, but rather an understanding of covenant or relationship, what it means to build communities and institutions where equity, access, and accountability are core values that guide us. In this way, we work to dismantle many forms of systemic oppression and support the dignity and worth of all people. I am here as a minister who also believes strongly in the separation of church and state, because I believe that public schools must meet the needs of all youth whom they serve, regardless of their cultural or religious background or any other identity that they hold. I don't think public schools can meet the needs of all students when they allow any religious organization to bring their values into the classroom or other spaces students are being served in. I support your decision to end a contractual relationship with a religious organization that does not share the core values of this district and its mission to serve without discrimination all students. Public institutions are necessarily pluralistic and should be careful to ensure that they serve all equitably. For the community gathered here, I hope that we can build the kind of support in our communities that our youth need to ensure their well-being and their success as students and as people. And I thank you for your...
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker. Sir, can you state your name and the topic in who you represent?
Hello. Chuck.
And if you want to just tap the top of it too, if you feel, until we kind of hear something. Here we go.
My name is Chuck Foreman. Pass the baton. There we go.
And this is why we're going to go ahead and exceed our 1 hour with all 32 speakers, so that we recognize that this has been problematic due to no fault of our own. Technology has a mind of itself. So, sir, I apologize.
No need to apologize.
You may continue.
My name is Chuck Foreman. I'm pastor at First Christian Church here in Phoenix. Dr. Stanton, honorable board members, you are more than gracious to sit and listen to all this, and I thank you for that. I, along with everybody else who wanted to speak tonight, I had my airtight presentation, world-changing thing ready for you, but I've decided to take a different approach. After witnessing the antagonism and polarizing experience that's happening outside our building tonight.
Can we pause the time, please? Do we understand what the feedback situation is about? Oh, I was just brought to the attention that the media has several wire mics wrapped around our mic, and that is causing some feedback issues.
Is this better?
No.
Still feedback. Okay, over here. Any better?
We won't make you do the hokey pokey, I promise.
Okay.
Are you able to put a certain amount of time back on the clock, Ms. Tucker? Okay, I am going to go ahead and give you approximately 15 seconds past clock time. Please continue.
Thank you. After witnessing the polarizing experience outside this building, I've decided to take a different approach. And I would like to say to all my Christian brothers and sisters in the room that when we can demean and castigate people who disagree with us and in the same breath sing songs to Jesus and pray in his name, we give the very one that we claim to follow a bad rap. And we have missed him completely, and we need to go back and read the book that we claim to follow and pay closer attention to the way that Jesus would do things. And by the way, board, I was part of a conversation with Len Munsell outside the building, and who is president of Arizona Christian University. He had no idea and is not responsible for what is happening across the street here. So you all need to know that as well. It's clear to any thinking individual that the board decision necessarily discriminates against a certain class of teachers, namely who have been trained at a Christian university, not just Arizona Christian University, and it extrapolates out necessarily to anyone who might wear that name. And don't think...
Yes, that's time. Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Next speaker, please. Can you?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
State your name.
Amanda Hess, and I am a teacher in the school district.
Go ahead.
Good. Good evening. I'm here to talk about two issues, the ACU decision and stipends. I'm a teacher, but I am not religious. I do feel that certain Christian traditional values are outdated and hold prejudices, but I can separate those from my career. I'm concerned and saddened that you've taken this opportunity to be a teacher away from potential students at ACU who could have made a positive impact on our children. This decision was made carelessly and filled with biases and presumptions. Your action to end the contract with ACU sends a message that all individuals from that institution will potentially be biased and unfair. This is a negative presumption and not aligned with the values I thought WESD stood for. And using your elected platform to bring in your own values in the district is demonstrating a double standard. You've shown the nation that any Christian in WESD or person who shares similar views with ACU are not valued and should be afraid of your power impacting their livelihoods in this district. We have many Christian teachers, students, and staff in WESD. How do you think this decision is making them feel? Isn't your purpose to support inclusion and not exclude and ostracize groups of people? The perception that you think by giving them a contract and they will influence our students with religious doctrine, this decision was unsound, unfair, and biased, and that just ain't right. Teachers choose WESD to teach a particular curriculum. There are no state standards that promote what you are suggesting teachers from ACU promote. Teachers come to WESD to teach kids. The next thing quickly is retention stipends. The perception of this board is that you hold more value in a teacher with little to no training than teachers who have been specifically trained and worked here for years. When will your priority be those of us who continue to serve? In closing, I wish our board would do a better job of advocating for quality teachers, modeling fair practices, and making decisions that exponentially impact the greater good, which is quality education. As a whole, this board is not holding true to WESD values. I guess what I'm saying is maybe staff should vote no on continuing this partnership with our governing board. I hope you reconsider your decision and are more mindful of drastic and bias-based decisions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker, please. Please state your name and where you live or who you're representing.
My name is Richard Claus. We've lived in the district for about 25 years. My wife and I have lived and raised our 3 children in the past 25 years within the boundaries of the Washington Elementary School District. I want to first say that express my sorrow that you have received abuse and threats, and so I'm sorry for that. I've also served for a time as a pastor of an evangelical church within the borders of the district, and under my watch we maintained an active and mutually beneficial relationship with the nearest school. At the core of my being, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ within the conservative evangelical tradition of Christianity. What most concerns me about the recent decision with ACU is the reasoning offered by this board. In particular, the words of the president of the governing board struck me as excessively intrusive and discriminatory. In particular, she spoke about a Christian's core beliefs and said, "I simply don't know how a piece of paper can change somebody's underlying value system. Even though they may not do anything illegal, they are preaching or using the Bible verses. How do you shut off an essential part of your being?" Note the criteria being used here. It is not enough that a potential teacher be competent and compassionate, or added to this, someone who brings value to the classroom, school, and district, or again, added to this, someone who objectively abides by the stated policies and goals of the district as articulated in their written documents. No, according to the president of this board, and those who did not contravene her thinking, the person's underlying value system, which is an essential part of their being, must be changed. Consistency of application, I would argue, to this line of thought would seem to require an ideological purge of current teachers and staff who uphold the historically rooted Christian view of sexuality as articulated by Jesus Christ. Only God himself has the authority to compel a person's core allegiance, even with a person's conscience. As an institution committed to the advancement of public education, I would ask you to forsake the politics of exclusion and discrimination and pursue a more reasoned path which benefits all peoples in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Please state your name and the community you represent and the topic you want to address.
My name is Marshall Militano. I reside in LD 27, and I come in support, obviously, with Ms. Valenzuela and this board's decision. I am a Christian. I was raised in a Christian home. The words of Christ have been misused and abused by a Christian or right that is beyond words. I'm ashamed sometimes to tell people that I am a Christian because of the way the church has taken its turn in society. We are to live our faith. Living our faith is embracing the world, for God so loved the world. Not a particular person, a group, a culture, but the world. Christ had more to say and got angry at the church, never against a person that was believed to be a sinner. I'm here in support of your decision. You know, the university, as a private university, has the right to pick and choose who can go to school there or work there. You don't. And as an employee, a previous employee of a school district, in procurement, in the garage, I understand that you have the right to either continue a contract or not continue it. And I don't believe anything discriminatory was done here. If the values of the organization does not match public school, then so be it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Crystal. Please state your name and who you're representing.
Hello, my name is Crystal Carrillo, and I'm a resident in this legislative district that covers several school districts, including Washington Elementary. Can I start? Okay. I am sharing my support for School Board Member Valenzuela and all the board members as a whole. Board Member Valenzuela made her commitment to run for this office on a kind, inclusive, and community-driven strategy, and that's why I supported her. She has continued her leadership with that in mind. This next statement pertains to the decision made to cut ties with ACU. My understanding on this decision is ACU was not providing what the original partnership entailed, which was recruitment and retention of teachers into the district. I also know that ACU has discriminatory language that is harmful toward LGBTQIA+ members of our community like myself. All of that to say, the Constitution of the United States calls for separation of church and state. I support the board's decision wholeheartedly. And in fact, I don't view this in any way as being anti-Christian. What would be anti-Christian is a bunch of people making death threats and attacking you all online, and even attacking me online when I put in a comment for support. But I digress. All of this to say that I appreciate your work as elected officials who give your time and energy to one of the most important volunteer elected positions in the state. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And our next speaker.
Please state your name and who you represent.
Can you hear me? Hi, everybody. My name is Jeannie Castine. Good evening, Madam President, board members, and cabinet. I'm actually a recent transplant to the WESD district, and I just want to thank you so much for not renewing the contract with Arizona Christian University. As a former teacher, I understand the teacher retention crisis in Arizona, but just because we're struggling to keep teachers in the classroom does not mean that we should partner with organizations that weaponize the idea of religious belief to require its students to sign a statement of faith that says homosexuality is a sin and offensive to God. There's nothing Christian about that. Your decision shows that you care about all of your students, families, faculty, and staff, and I'm grateful to this board for standing up against religiously justified bigotry. The Establishment Clause exists to protect both believers and non-believers, despite recent attempts to favor one religion over any other, over those of us who consider ourselves nuns, meaning none of the above. I appreciate your understanding of the Establishment Clause, the separation of church and state, and your commitment to support all of your constituents in your district. Your vote shows that everyone in WESD matters to you, and that you will not allow discrimination to happen on your watch, and I appreciate you all beyond measure. Thank you for stepping up to defend the diversity of the students in your district.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Janine Gelsinger, and I'm the Executive Director of Unitarian Universalist Justice Arizona. In my role, I run a statewide organization that organizes people of faith to put action to their values. And what better example of putting action to your values than the vote that you took last week to make sure that you are keeping your school free from discrimination against LGBTQ students and teachers. When religion is used to attack folks who have stood up and done the right thing, then it is my job to come and speak about what my religion says. As a Unitarian Universalist, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and that LGBTQ people like myself are whole, holy, and good, the way that we are. If I were to be in contract as a teacher in this school district or send my queer child to the school, I would be afraid of the language in that contract because I would worry about the discrimination possibilities for my children and against my religious values. And so I wanted to come here today just to express my gratitude for your decision to keep your school a place where all children can be valued and learn, and that teachers can have an environment to work in where they are recognized as whole and wonderful people just the way they are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Please state your name and where you represent.
Hi, I'm Allison Hoover. I reside in Washington School District. I have 3 kids. The oldest will be going to kindergarten in 2024. I sub for the district, and I am an alumni of ACU Education Department, class of 2015. What I want to talk about is just what I was taught as an ACU grad in the elementary ed department, and it was to love each and every student, no matter what their beliefs were, no matter where they came from, no matter who they were, to respect them, to have compassion, to show grace, to make them feel safe in the classroom. I would like to still see the ACU students be able to be student teachers in the classroom, because I believe that is what they are coming to do, to love students. We were not told to indoctrinate any students. We're not told to talk to them about the religion. We are told to love the students, to accept the students, respect the students. And I do want to add that as when I student taught, we are always under a mentor teacher, and the mentor teacher was with us at all times so that they know what is being said in the classrooms at all times. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Everyone, my name is Kalen Almeida. I'm a Christian. I'm representing Christians. I echo everything that was lovely about what she just said, but I do have my own things to say to you all. I'm here today to challenge you guys as a school board as a whole, and specifically Ms. Valenzuela, for spearheading the unanimous vote to sever the relationship between ACU and WESD, which is a clear act of extreme left-wing, anti-Christian religious discrimination and hatred. The community in which this school district exists is made up of at least 70% Hispanic and other people of color and their families and children. And a Pew Research shows that 71% of Latinos in Arizona identify as Christian or Catholic, some form of Christian or Catholic. And so I believe that you have students here and families that are of this faith. And I don't believe that removing this relationship that the school district had with ACU is going to cause anyone to be more safe or unsafe. And I would rather say it's unsafe that all of you can make that decision and be in control of so many impressionable children's lives. And I believe that the community will see through this facade. And let me ask you, if Christian teachers existing make you all feel unsafe because their righteous beliefs, what's next, and what message are you sending to the children who are Christian students? Are you guys going to purge them? Because how are you going to get their Christian beliefs out of their head? How are you going to do it? Do you think by removing the teachers that somehow all of a sudden that their deeply held beliefs are going to be relinquished? There's 150 churches within the confines, approximately, of the school district perimeters. So there is a lot of people here who are Christian who do want to fight back, and I have 3 demands. That you reinstate.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next, oh, thank you. Please state your name and who you represent.
My name is Beth Golden, and I am an employee of the district. Hello, my name is Beth Golden, and I'm one of the supervisory nurses for the district. My family and I have been in the district since the 70s. I am here regarding the decision made by the board on February 23rd. It was wrong for so many reasons. I am disheartened, to say the least, and it gives me pause that instead of bringing knowledge, integrity, and fairness to this table, you choose to make a one-dimensional decision based on fear, ignorance, persecution, and hatred. The world does not need any more of that. Shame on you all. You are doing a disservice to all of our children, even the LGBTQ kids. But I'm hoping that you will learn from your mistake and you will work to make it right. There is no shame in that. Do better. Prove to us that we did not make a mistake electing you. I want to leave you with a quote from Bell Hooks, an American author and social activist that you may be familiar with. I want there to be a place in the world where people can engage in one another's differences in a way that is redemptive, full of hope and possibility. That place could be WESD with the right leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tucker, is there any other? All right, that is our last public comment. At this point, I want to remind the audience, both here and who may be watching, the board is not allowed to discuss or respond to comments made during public comment that are not agendized, and the ACU decision was not agendized for this evening. We do have the right to respond to personal attacks, and given that the board in general was addressed and accusations made, I will give all board members an opportunity to respond specifically to attacks with regards to their decision, if they so wish. Also to Ms. Valenzuela, to any of the personal attacks or allegations that were made to you specifically. I will ask that we all recognize that it is 9 p.m. and we still have an agenda. And so I will begin those responses, and then we will move on to our consent agenda. However, before we begin that, we may recess for a brief break to allow those that would like to head home, or those that may on the dais that have been here for a very long time that might need a bio break. We're going to take a small recess after the board has been afforded the opportunity to respond to specific allegations or personal attacks. Thank you. Ms. Valenzuela.
I think this is an important time for us to understand the difference between a personal attack and systemic bias and bigotry. No one on this board has stated that Christian teachers will not be allowed within this district. What has been said, though, because it appears that listening to actual words are not happening, is that an agreement with an institution that allows bigotry within its core values is what was terminated. There is a difference between institutional discrimination and personal discrimination. And I'm going to say this, I'll be damned if any of our students feel like the only way out is to not live or not exist or be closeted. And that's any student. So I implore you all to really digest that and understand the difference, because what we're talking about right here is an institution, not a person, not a teacher, not student teachers. We are talking about an institution that has caused harm. And anyone who has worked with young people also knows that sometimes our young people don't have language or words to address the things that they've been through. And that sometimes when people are well-intentioned, like the love the sinner, hate the sin, that also causes great harm. So understand the difference between institutional bigotry and people being excluded.
Are there any other board members that wish to make a statement? Because I was included in the allegations that myself, I'll speak for myself, are anti-Christian or do not value Christians or believe that all Christians hold the same beliefs. That is not accurate. I echo Ms. Valenzuela's statement that this is an institution and it's an agreement between two institutions. And my understanding is that when we're talking about an institution and what partnerships we make, we have discretion there to say that one institution may not, regardless if it's a faith-based institution or community organization, we have that discretion to say, does this align? I echo, there is absolutely nothing that came from my mouth that indicates, and I'm going to be very clear, that we are not willing to hire anyone, staff, teachers, etc., from religious schools or from religious institutions. So that is all I have to say about that. And I will now move over to consent agenda. But before we do that, we are going to recess for approximately 5 minutes.